this radio station. Where I'm at, we have a newsroom, and that's all I was hearing. And before we were talking about what was going on in Boston, I was investigating the claims of experimental microwave tests on humans, and whether or not the signals can be used to electronically harass and jam signals going into the brain. Well, I was curious if electronic waves and the bombardment of the electric cloud could be used as a weapon against human beings. And what was odd is that it was a work in progress for me and my staff, and we had to cut away to talk about Boston. This is, breaking news. We latch onto a story, want to talk about it. And we really haven't come to any real conclusions about this investigation we're doing into these silent weapons for quiet wars, but we most certainly have some very interesting circumstantial evidence that there's an invisible weapon where frequencies can be jammed, manipulated, and used to transmit information or disinformation. Proved today, or actually being proven as we speak, as authorities are saying now, that cell phones and transmissions from cell phones were the cause of detonating the IED that was attached to these pressure cookers that exploded in Boston. And the interesting thing about that is now the pictures that they want to submit about the so-called suspects, they're finding that what they had to do, and this is really interesting, this is where they implement their FISA, they implement their wiretaps, their triangulation, and all the technology that you realize you can't hide from tech. The technology is one of those things that, it can implement you whether you like it or not. But here's the deal. So what they did, according to what I was reading and hearing today in the news, was that authorities got the pictures, and we would probably venture a very good guess that these pictures were taken from the internet, because a lot of people out there on the internet were trying to find patterns and clues using these pictures. I posted some of them as they were coming to me. Most of them were being discovered on 4chan and several other locales. But what they did is they got the pictures, and then, according to what I was reading and hearing today, as I was buried in the Boston story, they were using cell phones and cell phone transmissions. They were ordering the phone companies to give them all the cell phone transmissions prior to this bombing, trying to figure out what number may have detonated it, who may have dialed the phone to detonate the bomb, and how it went about. And they had to go through all the records to see how that happened. They had to go through all the cell phone makes, mobile phone makes, to see how this thing blew up. And so they were analyzing cell phone data in order to do this. And so it's information like this that once again perks up my ears, because here we are talking about electronic harassment. Here we are talking about frequencies that can be used to set off bombs, frequencies that can be jammed, frequencies that can be manipulated and used to transmit information and disinformation. I mean, it's a powerful tool. The cell phone is a powerful tool for spying. These weapons, these microwave and these electronic wave weapons, or whatever they use to scour an area, they can be used to not only know what you're doing, figure out who you're talking to, what you just ate, but they can be used for spying, torturing, basically continuing the surveillance state. And I know that it's a benefit and a detriment of what we do. I'm not criticizing that maybe this isn't helping, but I'm saying it can be used for good things, but they also use it to spy on American citizens. They use it for mind control, gang stalking, psycho-surveillance. It's just a few things to think about. And I know that these things are still relegated to conspiracy theory, even though evidence has shown the devices can be used to trigger emotional responses. They can trigger rudimentary bombs, and they can also be used for major investigations into where you live, where you've been. And I mean, all those things you do on Facebook, you say, I was here, or you use your Twitter, you say, well, I was in this locale at this particular time. Police can use this.
Now, if you go to the bottom of Freedom from Covert Harassment and Surveillance and look on the bottom of their homepage, understand this and be clear. There's 3 PDF links, remote neural monitoring being one of them, remote behavioral influencing technology being the second one, and directed energy weapons being the third one. My name is Leslie Williams, and I'm in San Diego, California, and I'm just going to fly right into the purpose of the reason why I'm making this video. Understand this and be clear. if you're just looking at this video for the first time, I mean, if you're just hearing about what I talk about for the first time, like gang stalking and remote neural monitoring, and you've never heard of these things before, you're not going to be able to get a thorough grasp concerning what I'm talking about, because you don't have the educated knowledge to know what I'm talking about. Knowledge comes from data and facts. Data based on facts, and then the facts that are attached to the data. Okay? Wisdom comes from the ability to be able to filter through the bullshit. Okay? As a result of research and education, you can filter through the disinformation to the actual information concerning the factual realities of these expeditions and the technological resources attached to them. The only way that you're going to be able to get a thorough picture concerning these expeditions and their technological resources, expeditions of gang stalking, remote neural monitoring, remote behavioral influencing technology, and directed energy weapons, and psychotronics, is to do thorough investigation. And that's why people like me, who put our lives and our freedoms on the line on a daily basis, because the government 100% vilifies and nullifies us targets because of what we know, because of the aspirations they had for us, and because of even how the non-consensual human experimentation is attached to these expeditions. Let me tell you something right now. They're harvesting and warehousing emotional clusters as a result of targets being remotely neurally monitored. Our EEG signals in reference to whatever we process are evoked potentials. When we have a thought, our brain is active. And as a result of our brain being active, neurons are communicating with each other. Okay? And the potentiation of each neuron in reference to each specific electrical charge dedicated to each neuron is a potential. It's potentiated with the charge because of the fact that it was created and then reinforced as a result of the creation and the reinforcement of these neural pathways that hold the thoughts, motor cortex associated behaviors, emotional states, and so on and so forth. These neural pathways hold electrical charges, which emit frequencies. In regular electronics, it's called X of L equals 2 pi FL, which means inductive reactance subscripted to equal 2 times pi times frequency times inductance. Inductive reactance is how you get a frequency as a result of the reactance of the inductance. Now, you think to yourself, what the hell is this woman talking about? I'm going to show you. See the two arms in reference to these pair of glasses? The arms for each, the arms, okay, for these glasses. Say that this is a positive and this one is a negative. It's a polarity. Negative charge, positive charge. And if you had alternating current going between these two poles, okay, the oscillation of the alternating current, okay, is in a motor, in a transformer, in a generator, and so on and so forth. As a result of the electrical charge being oscillated between these two poles, a frequency is emitted. It's called inductive reactance, okay? The charge is inducing, inductive, a reactance in reference to the fluctuations of the current that is oscillating between the two poles, the two arms of the glasses. And as a result of these fluctuations and the interreaction concerning the time cycles of their transmissions, a electrical charge is produced. It's called inductive reactance, where the induced charge generates a reactance, and as a result, that reactance produces a separate electrical charge that holds a frequency. That's in regular electronics, okay? When it comes to the bioelectric aspects of our physiological signals, our central nervous system signals, and our brain signals, potentiated neurons produce electrical charges that emit frequencies. These frequencies can be identified and marked using remote neural monitoring, okay? And once they are identified and marked, a number is assigned to it. On their end, they can piggyback, and then these electrical charges pertaining to the resonance frequency of each neural pathway that is dedicated to the neurons, the neurons that are in these specific neural pathways, what they do is can stimulate those neural pathways that hold those potentiated neurons, evoked potentials, okay? The evoked potentials are the electrical spikes of the EEG readouts, of the fluctuations of the evoked potentials as they're being processed and active. And when they're dormant, which means when they're not being used, they're still below the threshold of firing because they're potentiated, evoked potentials. Evoked potentials in reference to the brain can be stimulated in reference to the neural pathway that they're in, can be stimulated in real time as a result of the frequency of them being known using remote neural monitoring. Go to the bottom of Freedom from Covert Harassment and Surveillance and look at the remote neural monitoring file. Yes. So what they can basically do is not only stimulate any neural pathway that is already created, and as a result, motor cortex associated behaviors are involved. The innate response to get up and go can be excited and stimulated, because that's a physiological signal, okay? You would not believe what I know. And as a result of what I know, and them knowing that I know it, well, let me get back to this aspect of it. When a neural pathway, when the resonance frequency of it, whether no matter how it was created, whether it was intentionally and deliberately with malice aforethought created, through neurolinguistic programming, dark neurolinguistic programming, transmissions from, because when a target is sleeping, they're also being programmed. Yes. Now I'm going to get back to that in a minute, and once I do, you'll be able to understand it, or I'll make a separate video eventually, and you'll be able to understand what I'm saying. But here's the point of the matter. Once a neural pathway has been created, no matter how and why it was created, okay, a resonance frequency generates from it. That frequency can be identified and marked using remote neural monitoring. And then what they can do is send a signal to the frequency of that neural pathway by modulating the frequency that they send down to interface with the bioelectric frequency of that neural pathway in order to stimulate it, activate it, and keep it constant in a time constant rate. And this is how certain thought processes that are in that neural pathway and their motor cortex associated behaviors of getting up and going to a place can be stimulated back into current consciousness in real time. It's mind control. Because when you think about this, if you can classically condition a person to go, say, gambling, I don't gamble. If you can excite a person through suggestion, okay, using language to go to a casino to gamble, he might go. He might think to himself, okay, I'm going to do it. He's being monitored as he's thinking this. He thinks to himself, I'm going to go to the casino. I just got paid. I got vacation pay. I got a week off because I'm on vacation. Why not? Let's go. A co-worker who's involved in gang stalking will excite him to go. He thinks to himself, okay, I'm going to go. He takes a shower, he grabs his key, gets in his car, goes with his friend, supposed friend, to the casino to gamble. Then he's got all the thought processes that are involved in reference to not only to getting up and going once he's decided to go, but also all the thought processes of hoping to win, the emotional states that are directly connected to the same neural pathway of winning, hoping to win, and then the resulting thoughts that, like, say if he won, he might think to himself, I'm going to do this a little bit more often because I just got some money now. That's a neural pathway. That's got motor cortex associated actions of getting up and going, engaging in the gambling, and then leaving, and then the resulting thoughts of going back. That's a neural pathway. Those thoughts and those motor cortex associated behaviors of getting up and going, getting dressed to get up and go, and going, being there, and all the physical motor cortex associated behaviors of interacting concerning the actual physical gambling, and then the resulting thoughts of maybe coming back are one neural pathway that's got a resonance frequency. It can be identified and marked using remote neural monitoring and stimulated back in the current consciousness to be rethought out and reacted upon in real time. And now you have a person who appears to have a gambling addiction problem when he's actually being neurally controlled. The same applications can be used for prostitution, human trafficking, drug use. It's neural enslavement. And I make these videos to inform, to expose the truth concerning what is attached to what is known as gang stalking, organized stalking, and remote neural monitoring. I make these videos to inform, to expose the truth concerning the factual realities of these expeditions. This technology can literally surmise what you've eaten. It's called the radar gun. Go to YouTube and type in Fred Bell, George Norrie, electronic harassment and warfare. Scrutinize everything in that video. It clearly talks about brain stimulation. It clearly talks about the technological resources they have to ascertain your subvocal speech in order to be able to deliberate what you ate the day before. Yes, it's nothing but neural and physiological technology that has been developed to control the human mind and body for anything. And that's not even including what they can do concerning voice morphing, voice synthesizing, and voice modulating of your subvocal speech and your voice print, putting it into the computer, and then using your voice print to transmit artificial thoughts in your head, using your voice print, using the microwave auditory effect, to transmit psychological direction into your audio cortex using your own voice print, using the microwave auditory effect. John Hall calls them artificial thoughts. Go to YouTube and type in John Hall satellite terrorism. My name is Leslie Williams. I make these videos to inform the factual realities of X of L equals 2 pi FL, which is inductive reactance times equals X of L equals 2 pi FL, where they literally equate the frequency times 2 times inductance. It's the same concept. It's just using a different system. Instead of electronics, which they use, they're using the bioelectric system for neural enslavement, neural control, sexual exploitation, sexual slavery, neural enslavement for sexual slavery. Once they can get an individual, whether it be a male, female, or a child, to cooperate and think about sex for money, that is a neural pathway that can be stimulated back in real time to be acted out. Do you know what happens to targets of human trafficking and sexual slavery? It's called AIDS. My name is Leslie Williams, and I make these videos to inform, to expose the factual realities concerning these crimes and the perpetrators involved. And every single last bit of it is protected by our government because they're making money off of it. I'm in San Diego, California, and I make these videos to inform, to expose the truth concerning these factual realities. And if you think what I described in this video is the entire scope of these expeditions, it's not even 1 on a scale of 1 to 10. I make these videos to inform, to expose the truth. Thank you.